I was at BKFC 10 yesterday at the Fort Lauderdale Convention Center. It was a good time. We had the president David Feldman in here on Friday before the show, and I was curious. I was genuinely curious. Haven't been to a bare knuckle fight before, and it was the first time that I'd been down here in South Florida. You know, this stuff is getting legalized kind of by the week. It's one of the things where it started in Wyoming, then it was in Mississippi. You know, we've talked to Dada 5000 about this, where he was doing his cards in Wyoming, and now it's starting to branch out. You had one in Tampa recently, the Paulie Malignaggi Artem Lobov card, and now we're in a position where we're now here in South Florida. So you were going there last night. It was a fun time. Shout out to them. They gave me really good seats right inside the ring. And it was a real treat. There was a couple things that really stood out about bare knuckle, that stood out as far as how the show goes on. First of all, it's an amazing crowd. I'll say that there was a ton of people there. They packed the place at the Fort Lauderdale Beach Convention Center. So a fantastic crowd there. South Florida really showed out. Continues to show out basically every time there's a combat sporting event. People want to go. They want to be part of the show. And so they did a great job. They really packed the place. The second thing that really stood out with bare knuckle was I was really taken aback by how big the ring was. Like they refer to it as the squared circle. And I walk in there, and the first thing I noticed is like, damn, that thing is huge. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more of a confined area to keep guys in plain sight for contact.
What happened to the Trigon?
Well, that's coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a Dada 5000's card. He's got the Trigon, and I actually am curious going to that show how much that's going to lead to confrontation and fewer decisions. Because here's the way that kind of the night stood out. The pace of their card, bare knuckle fighting, it was rapid. It was bang 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 bang. It was great. They had like one prelim fight as the crowd was kind of weaving its way in at like 8:30, just so everybody wasn't bored. Second round knockout. Then the card starts at like 9:15, right as the broadcast kicks off, because it's a pay-per-view card, so it's being broadcast all over the world. And it was first round knockout, first round knockout, first round knockout, first round knockout, first round knockout. And there's like no dead time. As soon as these guys get out of the ring, as soon as their whole crew ends up out of the ring, boom, on to the next fight. So it was a really, really quick pace. And that was something that I really, really enjoyed, because one of the things that I do, one of the things that is a bit of a downer when you go to these fights, and it's a slight downer, but it is a downer nonetheless. You go to these fights sometimes, and there is so much dead time between bouts, especially when you get from, the undercard to then there's a whole shebang for them to get to the main card, and then there's a main event and all that stuff. And this one, it was fight after fight after fight after fight after fight. I told David Feldman, I said, man, the pace of your event was just so fantastic. It was really great. As far as the brutality of it, that was a big thing everybody was wondering about. How brutal is bare knuckle? It's not overwhelmingly brutal, but I did see, Datwen went out there and he knocked out Abadel Velasquez. I thought the dude was dead. I really did. He hit him with a shot right across the face, and when I tell you, he face planted right away. Blood's coming out of his face. They're trying to stabilize his neck. It was a really scary sight, being right at ringside for it. It was truly horrifying. But I will say this: I've been to mixed martial arts events too, where I've seen a guy get flatlined. I saw Jason Suarez do that to somebody at Titan FC, and the guy was out cold, and they had to bring out the oxygen to wake him up. I've been to boxing matches where I've seen a dude starched, and they've had to bring the oxygen to wake him up. So, though it was very scary, and maybe there was a little bit more blood, it wasn't overwhelmingly gruesome. And I think to what he was telling me, he's like, listen, these guys they can't go for broke on their shots like they can in mixed martial arts. And, thus you're going to have less concussions. Guys are worried about breaking their hands, breaking their fists. So, yeah, it wasn't overwhelmingly brutal as maybe some people were expecting while you were there. I know I was told like, oh, wait till you you hear what it's like when you're there. It's like, yeah, it was an experience, but it wasn't like anything. I wasn't shook by it. Being a guy who's taken in a lot of combat sports, it was still entertaining. It was fast paced. It was entertaining. It was nonstop. As far as the main event's concerned, so Hector Lombard, he took on David Mundell, the redneck. That was his name. Hector Lombard comes out there with a beautiful Ric Flair purple robe. He's got the purple trunks on. Looks fantastic. He's making. When we spoke to him, he broke the news to us that the card was going to be down here in February, and that he was going to be headlining, and a lot of people there supporting Hector. The main event wasn't fantastic, I would think, to what they're looking for in bare knuckle, because I talked to some people who have been around the sport more, and they thought that Mundell even won the fight, and I was like, I don't know what you're watching. I saw that Hector Lombard won that fight 4-1. And I remember this distinctly watching the Artem Lobov Paulie Malignaggi card, that there was a lot of controversy with the decision, with Artem Lobov getting his hand raised. And I remember coming on this show and saying, well, I don't know what we're looking for in this sport. I don't know what in bare knuckle are we looking for as it comes to scoring. Are we looking for straight up confrontation? How much should be rewarded for pressure? Because you're trying to engage confrontation. Mind you, listen, David, very nice guy. This is a guy that walked into his squared circle and told his fighters that you don't engage, you don't get paid. Went viral. Everybody thought he was a monster and all this stuff. But to me, this is a sport that should reward engagement more than anything. And fighting off your back foot and using your jab, like, I'm sorry, I thought that's not what we're here for. This isn't a boxing match. This is a bare knuckle fight. So from my standpoint, I thought Hector Lombard clearly won that fight. The judges had it 49-46, which is what I had, and had 48-47 on 2 cards. I thought that he clearly won. But, I think if you're a boxing guy, maybe you give Mundell a little bit more respect. I just thought that Hector clearly won. But we didn't see the savage Bellator up in your face. We saw that a little bit. We got a hint of it. Actually, even got a couple shots after the bell, too, from Hector Lombard. So he ends up getting a win. I'm sure that he's going to be fighting Joe Riggs. I think that's what they're planning to do soon. And, and that's the other thing, too. I was telling guys, I've seen every one of Hector's fights, basically, in the UFC. I saw the tail end of his Bellator career. Hector is a dynamic knockout artist. He is. He has, there was a reason they called him Lightning for so long. The guy he actually has like this dynamic punching power, but he is almost in the ilk of a Lyoto Machida, where it's like every once in a while you might get yourself a stinker from Hector because he's really trying to perfect and time that money shot. And so every once in a while, you look for fireworks and you get a dud in the batch. That's all that is. So I didn't think it was a dud of a fight. I thought it was a fine fight. It definitely wasn't best fight of the night by any means. But it was I thought a fine debut for Hector. Considering this is the other thing too with bare knuckle. And I was having a lot of debates with this. My buddy Peter Kahn took me to the fights, and he's super into bare knuckle. Like he thinks this is going to be the next big thing, and he's a visionary guy. So, him and I were just having the debate, and I asked David about this on Friday, and the one thing that I wonder about bare knuckle and is I think going to be interesting for what they blow up to in the future is who are going to be the first, who are going to be the homegrown stars of bare knuckle? Like, whose first avenue is going to be like, I want to get into bare knuckle? And, we were going back and forth. He's like, well, people say that about the UFC, and they look at all these gyms that are all over the place. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But, a lot of these people who do this, they're coming from an amateur rank of wrestling. There's a natural feeding pool. There's a natural feeding pool of people who took karate, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu. A lot of people who get into UFC, they have some type of base that was the feeding tube into them becoming mixed martial artists. Rare are the Rory McDonalds or the Aaron Picos who trained everything getting into the sport. That's just starting to happen. How do you get people to say, yeah, my first avenue I want to be is bare knuckle? And I'm not saying that it can't be big. And I think if, like, you know, there's I saw Shannon Briggs saying that he wanted to he called out Rico Rodriguez. And, you know, if that were to happen, you know, a guy like Shannon Briggs, I think that brings a lot of energy and excitement. This is what I threw out there yesterday. And because I saw Anthony Rumble Johnson rolling around the arena. And, you know, Rumble John's a big dude now. This light heavyweights, that's nonsense. He ain't a light heavyweight anymore. And what I said, I asked, I was like, hey, is he ever going to fight Bare Knuckle? Like, is this ever going to be a thing? And, you know, I didn't get a straight yes, but I didn't get a straight no either. So what I said was, well, listen, you want to blow the roof off the place, Shannon the Cannon Briggs versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. There you go. That's going to be the biggest fight in bare knuckle history, and then you can put some people under that. That'll make it the biggest damn thing ever. But that's just me throwing it out there. But getting back to the homegrown thing, it's like this is just a couple of things. You can definitely tell that the sport's in its infancy because you have a lot of guys who are coming in there. They're feeling a lot of things out, especially as the fight. I think, you know, the guys who have the experience, and they were almost a little bit more reserved. You could tell the guys who had the little experience in the early goings of the fight, those were the guys who were making mistakes and they were getting put out early. But once you got into the experienced guys, the Jay Maylers versus Caleb Harris, Luis Palomino versus Elvin Brito, these fights I think led to, you know, just a little bit more going. Guys were a little bit more easy. They were a bit more in shape to take shots. They knew how to take shots. They knew how to deliver offense a little bit more. So I think it made for a more competitive fight. But, you know, I still think I'm wondering when I came out of last night, I was like, all right, who's good at this? You know, that was like the big thing. Like, because when I go to a mixed martial arts event, and it could be a regional show, it could be a UFC event, it could be, you know, watching on your couch, watching it live. You can tell, oh, that guy has star potential. You know, that guy can be great at this. This guy, that is a guy I want to watch the next time. Same thing with boxing. I think we go to a lot of these events, and I go and I watch these people, and I'm like, oh, that guy's a star. He's going to be something. I want to watch that guy again. He just stands out. And I can say after watching last night, other than the horrific knockout that Dat Nguyen put on Velasquez, other than that, I was like, well, who's good at this? Who are the guys that I'm like, oh, I got to tune into that guy next time and see him? And I didn't know if I got that. I loved the whole experience of it. I loved the pace of the event. It was fun. We got to see some homegrown guys. Uly Diaz was on the card. Uly Diaz, who we had in the studio, he is, you know, he's now hit for the cycle almost in combat sports, boxing, MMA, you know, jiu-jitsu, and now bare knuckle. This was my conversation with Uly afterwards. As Uly Diaz, Miami guy, he was looking to kind of complete the cycle of combat sports, and here's what he had to say afterwards.
We're here with Uly, the Monster Diaz, Miami Zone. Congratulations, man.
Thank you so
bare
much.
knuckle debut, first round knockout. Did it go as planned?
It went as planned. It took a little longer than expected, but it went as planned.
The guy was, it looked like he was, did he know he was in a wrestling match? What the hell was going on?
I don't know what he was going on, but you know, it happens a lot when they feel that power. They want to try to wrestle me.
Yeah,
They forget what they're doing.
What was this atmosphere like for you, man? This is a new format. This is the debut of it here in South Florida. What did you think of it?
But you know what? It was amazing. It was an honor to fight here tonight. Honestly, I don't know. Until I got in the ring and started fighting, I don't know what happened. I blank out, and you know, I just focus on what I got to do.
We've seen you now get wins in boxing, mixed martial arts, now bare knuckle. You've done jiu-jitsu. You've been like the renaissance man of combat sports down here in South Florida. Are you going to pick a lane? Do you want to continue doing this whole route of hopping all over the place?
I'm going to continue on the route I'm on. I'm doing everything. I like hopping all over the place. I don't like to be married to anything. I love all combat sports. I love fighting. And like I said, it's just an honor to be able to be doing this in front of my people.
Was there a particular person that you enjoy getting to see afterwards, after it was all over, getting the victory for yourself?
Man, these guys right here. My son, my nephew, these guys are my boys, man. You know, I got my kids, my grown son and my daughters here too. It's amazing to be able to do this for them, you know? It's amazing.
And what does it mean getting to these wins in Miami? You got to be on an international showcase today, BKFC, worldwide. What did that mean to you?
Brother, you know, I was thinking about that earlier. It's like a dream come true, man. I'm fighting on a card with Hector Lombard, Jay Maylers, or with Baboon Palomino. It's on pay-per-view. I don't even know what to tell you, man. It hasn't even hit me, to tell you the truth. It's so amazing.
Well, it's amazing watching, man. Congratulations.
Thank
Continued
you, sir.
success on
Thank
the
you
show,
so much
right?
for the opportunity. I love you guys. Thank you for always putting me on, man. I thank you.
Absolutely. You were the Monster Diaz getting his first win in bare knuckle. To the first of many. WWE superstar Dana Brooke. We just got here. We just watched an amazing show from Uly the Monster Diaz getting himself
Amazing,
a first
absolutely
round knockout.
amazing. Yes.
What did you think of the atmosphere tonight?
You know something? It's completely electric. Everyone here is so into it. Truly amazing. Love being in his corner.
Yeah.
I did see a little something I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit of wrestling going on.
It was too much wrestling.
Right? A little bit too much.
I thought it was just gonna be all fists and.
I was ready to
fisticuffs
get tagged in, take him down myself, but I know he was going to do the job. You know, within the first minute, he guaranteed that for us. But next time, I think I want to see him in my corner.
Really?
Yes. Tampa, WrestleMania, in my corner, baby. I'll tag him right in. Intergender match.
So we're gonna now do for Uly. He's been in mixed martial arts, boxing, jiu-jitsu, bare knuckle. Now you want to take him inside the wrestling world?
Of course. WWE, here we come.
That sounds awesome. Just your impressions. You've been in a lot of big atmospheres. What did you think of something like this tonight?
Everyone is so supportive. Everyone, you know, coming out with their entrance music. It's truly amazing to see the fighters in their zone, in their element. It takes, and what I really appreciate is it takes weeks, months to train for this and preparation, and to get in that mental mind state is something so unique, and it takes a special person. So I really admire each and every single one of them out here.
What do you think of Uly's future in bare knuckle?
Sky's the limits. I always tell him that. Here, with anything he does, anything he puts his mind to, he's always dedicated, determined, and he goes out there and kills the show every time.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We just heard from the WWE's Dana Brooks. She said she threw out there, we've seen you conquer mixed martial arts, bare knuckle, jiu-jitsu, boxing. Threw out the idea, you, WWE. What do you think about that?
WWE, you're next. I ain't even playing with you.
Very intense afterwards. So shout out to Uly. Good for him getting the win.
Wow, he scared me there.
He scared you there?
I was
I'm
not
sorry you weren't
expecting
expecting. So he gets himself a win. His fight was weird though. Like this dude he was fighting, like he was literally trying to tackle him the entire time. I didn't understand what he was doing. And it was like, why is he doing that? And so he ended up getting hit in the temple. He drops down to the canvas, and then it was just counted out. So it was a very odd fight for Uly. Not on his end. His opponent, he had an opponent I feel like who didn't really want to dance. That's the hint that I got watching that. So yeah, overall, look, it was a very, very fun night. I had a great time at Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I'm looking forward to seeing Dada 5000, who I saw last night. He was there. The whole that was cool to see. Like the bare knuckle kind of community coming together, because it was funny, you know, like I was talking to Peter's like, oh, you know, David Feldman, he's the godfather of bare knuckle. I'm like, listen, he's doing big things, and they've made some international headlines. These boys down here, they're the godfathers of bare knuckle. Okay, the Dadas, the Kimbos, the dogfight people, like that's the grassroots of it, man. So. I'm looking forward to seeing what they got going on with that show over at the Hard Rock. I think that's going to be a fun showcase for sure. Absolutely. But it was good. Look, I tell you guys this all the time. When it comes to me and combat sports, I'm not above anything. I will give a run to anything in combat sports and usually have a good time. And that's what I had. I had an amazing time last night. The pace was fun. Great atmosphere. I'm definitely into watching the next card for sure. I've heard rumors that they're going to be coming down here again pretty soon. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is going to be coming down here pretty soon. I know that that Brawl for It All is coming up in 2 weeks at the Hard Rock, so you'll get your fill of Bare Knuckle down here for sure. Definitely going to get it. All right, when we come back, got a huge boxing match next week. I don't know if you guys have heard. The heavyweight championship of the world is on the line. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. We'll talk about it next.